Welcome back to Market on Close. The dollar today lower and it sustained moves higher in just about most of the commodities. Scott Bauer is the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Basically with the exception of beans today, Scott, which dropped pretty hard at the open and basically stayed down all day. Maybe not the most watched commodity, but one that has been very momentous and now kind of breaking down.
It is, and you know what? You have to look at the momentum trade specifically to beans, and really across the commodity space. But when you look specifically at beans, this is probably something that is going to continue here, Oliver, but it's really disconnecting itself from the rest of the space.
Now, Scott, when we talk about why, I mean, we've got supply, we've got demand. The commodities kind of as a whole can fit this demand equation. And then some of the WASD numbers for some of these specific ags kind of supported that supply constraint narrative. I mean, do you look at this as a discrete macro trade?
I don't know that I look at it as a macro trade. I don't want to say it's a one-off, but I don't think you can look at that space and say that is typical of demand, supply or demand across the space. So, you know, you look at the grains here, you look at soybeans, you look at corn, wheat, oats, and you can see, you know, some similarities across the board there, but I would not take one like beet soybeans here and take a look at that and say, all right, this is the trend going forward across all commodities.
All right, now, obviously copper, crude, we've spent a little bit more time there analyzing those. Overall, this dollar move seems like it's going to be a pretty big underpinning to these though, right? I mean, if this dollar is able to find some support or stabilize, should we expect some of these trends to come under pressure?
Yeah, that I would agree with for sure. In copper, for the most part, across the entire commodity space, that's the one I've been the most bullish in. And quite frankly, even with the risk of a move in the dollar here, I'd still remain very, very bullish in copper, because if there's anything that shows, you know, what the reopening may be like, and obviously this comes out of China, really, it's really in the copper space. It's not far off its highs where it's been. I really like the copper space here. But yeah, you know, if the dollar all of a sudden has found a bottom and is going to start getting some support here, then we may see some big moves in the commodity space. But it's so interesting, Oliver, to really analyze what Yellen said today, because she really said two different things. One, she's so supportive of stimulus and in a massive way, right? A big, big way. But on the other hand, she's also supportive of a strong dollar, not a weak dollar. So there's a big tug of war here. And it's almost as if she's laying the groundwork for saying, okay, the next maybe 6 to 9 months are going to be a little iffy here. But beyond that, game on.
I think that's pretty interesting context, Scott, given that right now all the speculation is about fiscal spend. Do we think that the dollar, given that the talk is turning into reality, right? We've got the guy and the team in charge who promised the most money. I mean, we know the $1 trillion price tags now, $2 trillion. Do you think that's been priced into the dollar? Because if this were a surprise, you'd think we'd be moving lower.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't know if it's fully priced in yet, but it certainly looks like it's putting in a bottom. Can we go sub 90 again, 89-ish? You know, perhaps. But yeah, I think we're starting to bottom out here. But you know what? It's still a very short time span here. And so far, the small rallies that we've seen over the last few weeks, have come in with some selling here. But, you know, if I were to play this longer term, and I'm saying longer term, you know, going out beyond 3 to 6 months, I'd say we're closer to a bottom than not.
Okay, I like it. Scott Bauer, nice little note to end on there. Appreciate the macro thought.
All right.
Through the lens of the commodities, Scott's the CEO at Prosper Trading Academy. When we come back, we'll have about 7 minutes until